Hello and welcome to this lecture on Introduction to Communication. In this lecture, it is going to assist you to be able to understand the basics of communication, the definition of communication. We will be able also to identify the importance of communication and be able to understand various categories in communication and also be able to apply different forms of communication. So we will begin the discussion by understanding the meaning of the word communication. When we talk about communication, we are referring to the process in which we exchange information, we exchange ideas, we exchange our thoughts, we exchange our feelings or messages between different individuals or between groups, or we can also talk about between organizations. And this information could be in form of speeches, it could be in written form, it could be gestures, or it could also be signals. When you talk about exchanging of information, this is also a wide area. This information could be verbal information, where we use spoken words, ideas, feelings. It could also be non-verbal information, for example, where the involvement of the body language, where we have different kinds of facial expressions. It could also be visual information. For example, when we are doing pictorial representation, the conversations around explaining of charts, graphs, and maps. So this is a very crucial discussion for you to be able to understand the definition, because it is going to now dictate all our conversations around this particular information. Now, communication is very, very important on our day-to-day lives. And this particular discussion here then is going now to help us understand more on the importance of communication. For example, it is very crucial in terms of assisting us to build relationships, very crucial in terms of assisting us when we are talking about building relationships. We could be able to ask ourselves, how does communication play that very important role? And we can talk about it being through having open and honest conversations, through active listening, through effective expression of our thoughts and feelings. And also the relationships are also enhanced by us showing empathy and understanding through communication. And we also have it assisting us to share information. We have just clarified this information could be verbal, it could be non-verbal, it could be visual, it could be emotional. All those are different forms of information that we intend to pass through communication. It could also be very important in terms of assisting us to express our thoughts and our emotions. It is also very important because it's going to enable us to provide support and encouragement. How do we go about that? We could communicate by showing concern, care, and compassion. Also avoiding being non-judgmental to the people that we are communicating with. And also communication is very, very important in terms of ensuring negotiation and conflict resolution. In negotiation, communication comes in handy when, for example, the parties that are involved in the communication are seeking a win-win kind of a solution. They are able to manage their emotions within the negotiation activity, and they are also through negotiation now we can also be able to build trust and rapport amongst the communication parties. And of course, the reason why we are talking about seeking a win-win solution, most of the time we have conflicts around different activities within organizations among individuals. And once these activities happen or conflicts happen, then we need communication to be able to resolve these issues. And finally, as another importance, communication is key when it comes to matters entertainment and social interaction. How can that happen? It happens through the aspect of storytelling. It happens through the aspect of humor and wit, and also other forms of expressing creativity. That tells you that communication based on these six importances, then it's a major thing that as we do it on our day-to-day activities, then it is also hell-bent upon us to be able to strive to do the following things that we have mentioned here as part of the importances of communication. We further are able to go ahead and talk about classification of communication. What you need to understand is that communication is quite wide, and therefore we could break it into many other uh, kinds of communication. So the major classifications that we have is what we refer to as internal communication, and also what we refer to as external communication. When we talk about internal communication, then we are referring to what happens when information is being exchanged. Information, messages, ideas are being exchanged within organizations or groups among its members. So we could also be able to ask ourselves, so what kind of information are we exchanging maybe within an organization? Number one, it could be what we call memos. It could be internal emails that are moving from one department to another. It could also be communication that is done through mobile platforms like what we call intercom. That is a communication aspect, or a mobile gadget that only supports the sending of information or making calls within an organization. So that is what we would refer to as internal communication. So we could also ask ourselves a very, very important part, or a very important part of this discussion is to be able to understand so why is the purpose, or what is the purpose of internal communication? Number one, internal communication is also going to assist us, number one, to be able to share organizational goals, objectives, policies with employees. So we take advantage of internal communication, and we can be able to sit down with our employees, share with them in terms of the direction in which we intend our organization to take. What is it that we intend to achieve? When we talk about policies, they are simply guidelines within the organization that even as employees continue with their day-to-day activities, then they also need to be aware of the guiding principles. For example, around training, around anti-bullying policies, around drug abuse, around policies around promotion, policies about around managing diversity. We have quite an extensive discussion on that particular space. The second one, we are saying internal communication is important because it helps us to be able to distribute information about company updates. So we could be having, for example, company updates in the context of having a new change or a change in management. Probably that is some information that we need to send out to everybody to be able to understand. Another purpose of internal communication is the ability to be able to facilitate collaboration and teamwork among employees. So we could always be able to send information out to encourage people to work in teams. We can create group works, we can create other forms of team engagements, and all that can be achieved through internal communication. We're also saying it is going to help us create a channel for feedback, debate, and discussions. So if you receive an internal email, you could be expected to respond. Probably it's some crucial information that the manager, for example, intends you to be able to give back to them. And therefore, this is very, very important. We are also saying that internal communication is crucial because it's going to help us foster a sense of belonging. So remember we said about creating a relationship. So when you are new in an organization, for instance, you may not know very many people. You may not know uh, who to communicate with and who not to communicate with. But you realize by the time you spend a month, 2 months, goes to a year in that particular organization, now you have what we are calling here a sense of belonging. Engagements, other forms of engagements, and alignments with the organization's mission and values. So the more you continually to receive information internally, the more now you are able to align with the mission of the organization, the vision of the organization. That, of course, is going to improve productivity. And finally, internal communications final purpose is to be able to provide feedback, instructions where possible, and guidance to staff members. All that is a very crucial discussion and a very, very interesting one. Kindly note, these are not the only points around the purpose of internal communication. We could have many more. So I invite you to be able to do research, to be able to understand these concepts and be able to assist you also better your understanding in and around the external communication or internal communication and its purpose. The next discussion now is the second classification, or what we call external communication. And we are saying in this form of communication, it is going to involve interactions and exchanges of information between organizations and individuals or entities that are outside an organization. Or simply what we would mean sending information to an external party. It could be an organization, it could be other stakeholders in the communication space. Uh, we could also ask ourselves very crucial information. So, what are we exchanging? What is it that we are sending out? Probably there are communication to our suppliers, communication to our shareholders, communication to the government. Probably there is something they expect us to be able to do. So we can give an update on what is happening. We also are going to look at the purpose of external communication. Now, external communication is very, very important because it's going to help us to build and maintain relationships with customers and clients. Remember, this is very crucial and it's going to determine the success or failure of the organization. So, these relationships need to be really cultivated, and that includes regular feedback, regular finding out from the customers on whether they have enjoyed the services that you have offered. There is something very crucial in marketing that we refer to as relationship marketing. And in relationship marketing, the emphasis is not only to strive to sell a product, you also need to find out from the customer on whether they have enjoyed the product. So look for ways and avenues to reach them, and that can be achieved through external communication. How can you be able to communicate to the customers, to the clients, to find the level of satisfaction? You could, as an organization, also send out questionnaires. Probably you could ask few things about the product. And of course, this is an opportunity for you to better your product, improve your product, and make it better than it was because you are receiving feedback from your customers. The other one is communicate product or service offerings, marketing messages and promotional activities to target audience. In any promotion that we are running, we could make very nice flyers, send them out, just to let your customers know that, hey, we have this particular promotion, or we have this particular message that we intend to pass to you. The other one is external communication, helping us, number three, to negotiate contracts, other forms of agreements, partnerships with external partners. This is also a wide area, very many contracts. It could be, for example, we are outsourcing a certain activity. Maybe we are outsourcing our auditing services and we want somebody to be able to do it, an external party. So we have contracts that need to be written. We have contracts that need to show what is the scope of work that the auditor needs to do, and what are the things that we are going to use to be able to evaluate those frameworks and agreements. The other one is it addresses inquiries, complaints, feedback from customers or the public. The other one, we are going to talk about external communication as assisting us to engage shareholders. Shareholders, of course, have a stake in the running of any company, investors, and the financial community. We want, the reason why we are using external communication here in this context is to be able to provide updates on the organizational performance and other forms of financial results. And finally, external communication is very, very important to manage public relations, to manage the reputation, the corporate image of the company, or through various interactions with the media. Very many times we are going to find ourselves in trouble, maybe due to negative publicity, some of which may be true, others may not be true. So when we have this kind of issues, we intend to send information out, and that is where public relations comes in. And therefore, you want to send information out, probably to correct the negative publicity that has been done, maybe for your company. Work on your reputation. Sometimes, as companies, we find ourselves in trouble. We find ourselves in situations that have dented our image, and therefore, external communication is going to come in handy to assist us try to resolve those issues around our reputation as a company. Other forms of classifications, of further classifications that we can have around communication is when we talk about the formal communication. This is a more structured way of communication. It is more official, and the channels of communication in an organization are well laid out. Serious organizations, you will also find they also have developed a policy around their communication. We can be able to call that formal, and whatever is appearing here in terms of number 1 to 4 are other examples of how formal communication takes place. For example, through memorandum, or what we call memos. These are, of course, short communication to the staff. For example, we need to organize a meeting. You are invited to attend this meeting at this particular place. The venue and the day, that's part of crucial information that is sent out through memorandum. And then also through meetings, we have official meetings. We have companies that do their meetings every day in the morning. We have different forms of reports, and then also finally formal communication in the context of official letters that are being exchanged from one organization to another, or from within the organization. And then we have finally what we call informal communication. We are saying that this one refers to spontaneous, unofficial, and unofficial exchanges of information, messages or gossip that occurs outside the formal channels. Part of what we could call informal communication could be some face-to-face conversations, for example, in a social setting with a friend, what we call rumors and gossip, lunch or coffee breaks, when we are in those breaks, and then also issues around office parties and other social events. Those are avenues that we can be able to have informal communication. So that's going to bring us to the end of our discussion here. For any clarification or an assistance that you need in terms of your studies, you could be able to reach me on the email that is indicated here, classmadeeasy1@gmail.com, and I will be able to provide that assistance. Thank you so much.